Disrespect is a universal experience. No matter who you are, at some point in life, someone will try to belittle you, undermine you, or make you feel small. The natural reaction is anger, revenge, or proving yourself. But Niccolo Machiavelli, the sharp observer of power and human nature, teaches us something very different. For him, disrespect was not just a matter of pride. It was a battlefield where your response determined whether you grew stronger or weaker. Today, we'll uncover how Machiavelli would handle disrespect and how you can use his principles to turn every insult into an opportunity for greater influence, strength, and control. 1. Understand what disrespect really is. The first truth Machiavelli would force you to face is that disrespect is not really about your feelings, it is about power. People rarely insult or belittle others by accident. More often, it is a deliberate move, a probe, a test. Human beings are constantly negotiating their position in the hierarchy, whether they are aware of it or not. When someone rolls their eyes at you, interrupts you when you speak, dismisses your contributions, or mocks you in public, they are not simply being rude. They are quietly asking, "Can I lower this person's standing without consequence? Can I treat them as lesser and still get away with it?" Machiavelli, who studied the mechanics of power with ruthless clarity, knew that these small acts were the first sparks of larger struggles. They were signals, not accidents. The danger is that most people interpret disrespect emotionally rather than strategically. They feel hurt, humiliated, or angry, and they rush to defend their pride. But in doing so, they play the wrong game. By reacting with visible outrage or desperation for validation, they confirm exactly what the offender suspected, that their place in the hierarchy is unstable, that they can be rattled. Machiavelli would argue that the insult itself is not the real weapon. The weapon is your reaction. If your reaction is uncontrolled, you hand over your power willingly. But if you learn to see disrespect for what it truly is, a move on the chessboard, you will stop taking it personally and begin to respond like a strategist. In that moment, the insult transforms from a wound into an opportunity. A chance to prove, not through words, but through composure, that your foundation is too strong to be shaken. Disrespect, then, becomes less a threat and more a test you can use to reveal your truth strength. 2. Never react emotionally. The natural instinct when insulted is to fight back, to raise your voice, to make sure the world knows you will not be treated this way. But Machiavelli would warn you that instinct is often your greatest enemy. To react emotionally is to surrender control, to allow your opponent to set the terms of engagement and dictate your behavior. When you lash out in anger, you may believe you are asserting dominance, but in truth, you are announcing to everyone that your emotions can be manipulated. The one who disrespected you has successfully drawn you out of composure, and in that instant, they are the master, and you are the servant.
Machiavelli wrote that rulers who cannot control themselves are easy to control by others. This principle applies beyond kings and princes. It applies to every interaction of daily life. The man who explodes in rage when mocked at work, the woman who grows defensive when challenged in a meeting, the friend who sulks after a small slight. All of them reveal that their self-image is fragile, and fragile things are easy to break. A strong foundation, however, cannot be shaken, and the strongest foundation of all is composure. To practice composure is not to suppress anger, it is to redirect it into strategy. The next time someone disrespects you, notice your first reaction. Feel the heat rise, the urge to retaliate, and then pause. Do nothing. Allow a silence to hang in the air. Look calmly at the offender. Perhaps even give the faintest of smiles, not of amusement, but of dismissal, as though their attempt to unsettle you was too small to be taken seriously. In that moment, you reverse the power dynamic. They sought to make you react, but instead, you make them squirm under the weight of their failed attempt. This is quiet dominance, the kind that unsettles far more deeply than shouting ever could. By refusing to be provoked, you prove that your worth is not in question, and that calm, Machiavellian self-command will leave a longer impression than any outburst of pride. 3. Control the narrative. Disrespect often does not happen in the shadows. It happens where others can see it. And when there is an audience, the meaning of the insult changes entirely. It is no longer just about you and the one who disrespected you. It is about everyone watching, silently judging how you will respond. Machiavelli understood this better than most. He wrote that the reputation of a leader was more valuable than gold, because perception is the foundation of authority. If the people believe you are weak, then even if you are strong, they will treat you as weak. If they believe you are strong, then even your moments of weakness will be excused. Perception shapes reality. That is why when you are insulted in front of others, your goal is not to satisfy your pride, but to control the narrative. Think of disrespect in public as a performance. One person attempts to humiliate you, but the real battle is for the minds of the spectators. If you take the insult too seriously, you give it weight and credibility. If you collapse under it, you confirm what your enemy implied. But if you rise above it, redirect it, or even turn it into an advantage, the crowd sees not your humiliation, but your superiority. Sometimes this requires a sharp wit, a well-placed remark that flips the insult back onto the one who delivered it. A ruler who can turn mockery into laughter directed at his enemies gains not only dignity, but admiration. Other times, the wiser choice is not to respond at all, to stand silent and unmoved, as if the insult were nothing more than a child's tantrum. This communicates that you are operating on a higher level, that the disrespect cannot even reach you. Machiavelli would advise you to always calculate, what do I want the audience to believe about me after this moment? Do you want them to see calmness? Then show no reaction. Do you want them to see cleverness? Then answer in a way that shifts the attention onto your opponent's foolishness. Do you want them to see dominance? Then use their insult to display your control. Every situation calls for a different response, but the principle remains the same. Never allow the one who insulted you to dictate the story. Craft the story yourself. The crowd may forget the words that were spoken, but they will never forget the impression of who stood taller when it was over. And if you can turn an insult into a stage on which your composure, wit, or strength shines, then disrespect ceases to be an attack. It becomes free publicity for your power. 4. The balance of mercy and fear. One of Machiavelli's most famous lessons is his claim that it is safer to be feared than loved. But if you read him closely, you'll see he was not advising cruelty for its own sake. He was pointing to a deeper truth, that authority rests on perception, and perception requires balance. When someone disrespects you, you face a choice. You can appear merciful, letting the slight pass, or you can enforce fear, showing that no insult will go unanswered. Both paths have their place, but the art lies in knowing which to choose and when. If you respond harshly to every small insult, you come across as insecure and petty. People begin to whisper that you are fragile, that your ego is so delicate it cannot withstand the smallest offense. A leader, or any individual, who is seen as constantly retaliating diminishes their own stature. Mercy, in the right measure, communicates supreme confidence. It shows that you do not feel threatened, that you are too strong to be bothered by trivialities. This kind of restraint can elevate your reputation, making others admire your composure and self-assurance. But Machiavelli also warned against being too forgiving. If disrespect becomes a pattern, if someone openly undermines you and faces no consequences, then others will learn that you can be attacked without risk. At that point, mercy becomes weakness, and weakness invites more aggression. In such cases, fear must replace tolerance. Not reckless rage, not chaotic revenge, but a deliberate, decisive response that leaves no doubt about your strength. The punishment should be swift and memorable. Not necessarily cruel, but clear enough that others watching think twice before ever trying the same. This balance, knowing when to overlook an insult and when to strike back, is at the core of Machiavellian wisdom. Too much mercy, and you are disregarded. Too much severity, and you are hated. But when you master the timing, when people know that you can forgive once but will not forgive twice, you cultivate the most valuable position of all. You are respected and you are feared. That dual perception ensures that your authority is not just temporary, it endures. 5. Silence as a weapon. Few responses are more unsettling than silence. Most people assume that power is displayed through words, through sharp comebacks or fiery speeches. But Machiavelli would remind you that true power is often revealed by what is not said. When someone disrespects you, the urge to defend yourself is overwhelming. You want to prove them wrong, to explain yourself, to strike back with equal force. Yet every word you speak ties you more tightly to their insult. You are fighting on the battlefield they chose. Silence, on the other hand, removes the battlefield altogether. It tells the world, this is not even worth my attention. Silence forces the aggressor into a position of weakness. They expect a reaction. They want to see you lose your composure, to hear you plead or argue, to feel that they have successfully pulled you down to their level. But when you refuse to give them that satisfaction, the dynamic shifts. Now it is they who must scramble to justify themselves, to fill the uncomfortable void, to explain why their insult hangs in the air without effect. The audience, too, begins to notice. They see that you are unbothered, calm, untouchable, while the one who insulted you grows more desperate to make their words sting. Without lifting a finger, without speaking a word, you demonstrate that their attempt has failed. Machiavelli understood that silence was not weakness, but dominance. It is the confidence of a ruler who does not need to prove himself, because his authority speaks louder than any rebuttal could. In your own life, this does not mean retreating into passivity. It means choosing your words with such discipline that silence becomes a deliberate weapon, not an accident. A calm stare, a faint smile, or even simply continuing with your business as if nothing happened. These send a message stronger than any angry retort. You cannot touch me. You do not matter enough to provoke me. And this is the essence of Machiavellian silence. It is not an absence, but a presence. It is a deliberate refusal to meet disrespect on equal terms, and in that refusal, you rise above it. The insult dissolves into nothing, and your composure becomes the lasting image. In a world where most people are quick to lash out, the one who can master silence stands apart, mysterious, unshakable, and more powerful than words could ever make him. 6. Use disrespect to your advantage. Machiavelli believed that fortune favored those who knew how to turn adversity into opportunity. And what is disrespect, if not a form of adversity? Most people view it only as an insult, something to defend against or endure, but the Machiavellian mind sees further. Every slight, every dismissal, every attempt to humiliate you contains hidden information and hidden opportunities, if only you are willing to look beyond the surface. First, disrespect reveals character. The one who insults you shows their hand, exposing envy, insecurity, or resentment they could no longer conceal. They reveal themselves as someone who feels threatened by you or eager to establish dominance over you. This is invaluable knowledge. Many enemies pretend to be allies, but disrespect strips away their mask. By cataloging who disrespects you and in what manner, you begin to map out the true loyalties and dangers around you. In this sense, an insult is not a wound, but a gift. It shows you who cannot be trusted. Second, disrespect provides the perfect stage for you to demonstrate resilience. Anyone can look confident when they are praised. Only the strong remain composed when they are attacked. When others see that you cannot be shaken by words or gestures, they begin to view you as unbreakable. They admire the calm with which you rise above. In their minds, the insult no longer diminishes you, it magnifies you. And in this way, your enemy's attempt to harm you becomes free advertising for your strength. Finally, disrespect can sharpen your own discipline. Every time you resist the urge to react emotionally, every time you choose composure over anger, you train yourself to be more formidable. You learn patience, self-control, and the art of strategic timing. What others intended as humiliation becomes practice, forging you into someone harder to manipulate and harder to defeat. Machiavelli would remind you, never waste an insult. Exploit it. Let it reveal your enemies. Let it refine your reputation. Let it strengthen your discipline. In doing so, you transform disrespect into a stepping stone toward greater influence. The weak see disrespect as an attack. The strong see it as a tool. And those who master this shift in perspective can turn even the sharpest of insults into a weapon that works for them, not against them.
7. When to strike back. Patience and composure are powerful shields, but Machiavelli was too realistic to believe that silence and restraint alone could secure respect forever. He understood that human nature is opportunistic. If people believe they can disrespect you without consequence, they will push further. They will test your limits again and again until your authority is hollow. That is why restraint must always be paired with the capacity for decisive retaliation. The wisdom lies not in striking often, but in striking at the right moment, and in striking so effectively that no second attempt will follow. To lash out immediately in the heat of emotion is weakness. It shows that you are ruled by passion rather than strategy. But to wait too long, to absorb insult after insult without ever responding, is just as dangerous. It signals to everyone that you are unwilling or unable to defend yourself. Machiavelli would advise a middle path. Allow the first slight to pass with calm composure, but watch closely. If the disrespect continues or grows bolder, then prepare your response carefully. Gather your strength, choose your timing, and when the moment is right, act with precision. Retaliation does not always mean confrontation in the obvious sense. Sometimes it means cutting ties, removing privileges, or quietly undermining the one who sought to undermine you. Other times, it means exposing their hypocrisy when the evidence is undeniable, so that they fall by their own actions. And in rare cases, it means direct confrontation, clear, sharp, and final, so that everyone understands you are not to be played with. The key is not cruelty, but decisiveness. The strike must be measured, proportionate, and impossible to forget. Machiavelli admired rulers who did not punish often, but when they did, punished in such a way that the lesson lasted a lifetime. In your own life, this principle translates into simple wisdom. Do not waste your energy on every insult. But when someone threatens your reputation, your authority, or your dignity repeatedly, do not hesitate. Strike back once, but strike back in such a way that the disrespect ends there. For in the eyes of others, it is not just your reaction they are judging, it is the precedent you set. Show that mercy has limits, that forgiveness is not guaranteed, and that those who gamble with your dignity will pay a price. That clarity ensures you will not need to fight often, because the memory of your strength will fight for you. 8. The lesson of dignity. At the core of Machiavelli's wisdom lies a principle often overlooked:
Dignity. Disrespect stings only if you allow your sense of worth to depend on the opinions of others. The man who knows his own value cannot be diminished by mockery, insults, or rejection because he does not measure himself by external approval. Machiavelli understood this deeply. A prince who is desperate to be loved by the people will eventually compromise his authority to keep their affection. But a prince who maintains dignity, who knows that respect is earned through strength and composure, remains untouchable even when he is disliked.
In your own life, this lesson is crucial. When someone disrespects you, they are not lowering your value, they are exposing their own. The one who insults reveals envy. The one who mocks reveals insecurity. The one who tries to humiliate shows that he cannot rise without dragging someone else down. Their actions say more about them than they ever could about you. If you internalize this, you stop reacting as though their words define you. You stop chasing respect and instead command it through the quiet force of dignity. Dignity is not arrogance, nor is it cold indifference. It is the calm certainty that your worth is not negotiable. It is the ability to stand firm in storms of criticism without bending, because you know that your foundation is solid. This does not mean you ignore reality. Machiavelli would never advise self-delusion. But it does mean that you stop giving away your peace every time someone attempts to provoke you. To carry dignity is to carry power, because it is the one thing no enemy can take unless you willingly surrender it. And here lies the paradox. When you stop craving respect, people begin to respect you more. They sense the unshakable core within you, and they treat you accordingly. Machiavelli would say that respect is not demanded, it is commanded. And the way to command it is not through constant retaliation or endless explanations, but through the dignity of a man or woman who cannot be rattled, cannot be reduced, and cannot be controlled by another's opinion. Disrespect may sting in the moment, but dignity outlasts every insult. It is the foundation on which true power is built. So what should you do when someone disrespects you? According to Machiavelli, you should first understand the insult as a power move. Then, refuse to react emotionally. Control the narrative. Use silence as a weapon, and balance mercy with fear. Exploit disrespect as an opportunity to grow stronger. And when the time comes to respond, do so with precision and finality. Above all, never forget that your dignity is untouchable unless you surrender it. Respect cannot be demanded, it must be commanded. And you command it not by chasing it, but by showing the world that nothing and no one has the power to shake you. That is the Machiavellian way.